What if the SUV you are seriously considering buying right now is about to vanish from the face of the earth? Not in 10 years, not in 5, right now, in 2026. And the worst part? The dealerships already know. They have known for months, but they are still pushing these vehicles onto unsuspecting buyers, smiling at the sales desk, shaking hands, and handing over the keys to a truck that has no future, no parts guarantee, and a resale value that is already in free fall. These brands made big promises. They ran expensive ad campaigns. They told you this SUV was built to last a decade, and now they are quietly pulling the plug and leaving you holding the bag. So pay close attention, because today on Atif Cars, I am going to expose the 5 SUVs that are disappearing in 2026, break down the catastrophic mistakes that brought them to their knees, and warn you before it is too late to walk away. And I will tell you right now, the number 1 on this list promised to redefine the American SUV market and ended up becoming the single most embarrassing failure the industry has seen in years. Do not scroll past this. Share it in your car groups right now, because what I'm about to tell you is exactly what the dealerships do not want getting out. Welcome to Atif Cars, the channel that tells you the truth the auto industry tries to bury. Let's get into it. We start with a name that used to mean something, a name that was attached to school runs, road trips, family vacations, and weekend adventures for over 15 years, the Jeep Renegade. Yes, the smallest Jeep in the lineup, the one that was supposed to bring an entirely new generation of buyers into the Jeep family, is officially being killed off in the North American market. And the way Stellantis handled it was nothing short of disrespectful. No farewell edition, no final year tribute package, no announcement, just gone, quietly removed from the order books like it never existed. Here's the truth, the Renegade was never a great vehicle. It was always underpowered, cramped, and overpriced for what you actually got. But it sold because the Jeep badge carries enormous emotional weight. People bought the name, not the machine. And for a while, that was enough. But then the competition got serious. The Kia Seltos showed up, the Hyundai Venue arrived, the Chevrolet Trailblazer came back with a vengeance. Suddenly, buyers had real choices that offered more space, better fuel economy, superior technology, and lower price tags. The Renegade had nothing left to sell except a logo. Sales collapsed. In 2022, Jeep was moving over 90,000 Renegades annually in the United States. By 2024, that number had cratered to under 30,000, a 65% collapse in 2 years. And now, if you walk into a Jeep dealership and ask about a new 2026 Renegade, the salesperson will look at you with a smile and try to redirect you toward the Compass or the Wrangler, because the Renegade simply does not exist anymore. The people who bought one in 2024 thinking it was a safe purchase, they are already watching their resale value bleed out. A vehicle with no future has no value, and that's exactly where Renegade owners find themselves today. Do not leave this video yet, because the next one on this list made an even bigger mess on its way out the door. Number 4. Now we are talking about a vehicle that genuinely shocked the industry when the end was confirmed, the Nissan Murano. For over 2 decades, the Murano was Nissan's crown jewel in the mid-size SUV segment. It was bold, it was stylish, it had a distinctive design that stood out in a sea of forgettable crossovers. And then, slowly, painfully, Nissan just let it die. The 2024 model year was the last, no next generation, no redesign coming, just a quiet farewell to one of the most recognizable SUVs on American roads. And the question everyone is asking is simple. How did it come to this? The answer is brutal. Nissan stopped investing in the Murano. While Toyota was completely redesigning the Venza and Ford was pouring billions into new technology for the Edge, Nissan left the Murano sitting on a platform that was aging faster than anyone was willing to admit. The interior started feeling dated, the technology fell years behind, the fuel economy numbers were embarrassing next to the competition, and buyers noticed. They always notice. In 2019, Nissan sold roughly 75,000 Muranos in the United States. By 2023, that number had fallen to just under 30,000. The writing was on the wall for years, and instead of fixing the vehicle, Nissan chose to slowly reduce production and let it fade out. Dealers were sitting on Murano inventory for months at a time, offering massive discounts just to move units off the lot. And here is the part that should terrify anyone who bought one in the last 2 years. Parts availability is already becoming a concern. When a vehicle is confirmed discontinued, the supply chain for components begins to thin out fast. Owners are starting to feel it. Repair costs are climbing, resale values are crumbling, and Nissan is moving on without a single apology. What comes next on this list is even more maddening because this was a brand that had every resource in the world to get it right. Number 3. Let us talk about a failure so avoidable, so preventable, that it actually makes you angry on behalf of every buyer who trusted this brand. I am talking about the Dodge Durango. Now, before you say anything, yes, the Durango is a legendary name, a 3-row American SUV that for years was genuinely the toughest option in its class. The Hemi engine, the aggressive styling, the towing capability that embarrassed most of its competitors. The Durango was real, it was powerful, it was everything a family SUV was supposed to be. And Stellantis is killing it after 2025. No successor announced, no electric replacement confirmed, just a cut, a termination, a brand decision made in a boardroom that leaves hundreds of thousands of loyal Durango fans with absolutely nowhere to go within the Dodge lineup. And why? Because Stellantis decided to bet everything on electrification without actually having the electric vehicles ready to replace what they were eliminating. They discontinued the Dodge Charger as a gas car, they killed the Challenger, and now the Durango is next. They're dismantling an entire performance legacy and replacing it with promises of electric vehicles that have faced enormous delays and production problems. The Dodge brand is being hollowed out from the inside, and loyal customers are being asked to just wait and trust the process. Here is the number that defines this disaster. The Durango sold over 100,000 units in the United States in 2021. Strong numbers, healthy demand. And despite that demand, the brand still chose to pull the plug. Not because the product was failing, but because the corporate strategy changed. Owners who bought a 2024 or 2025 Durango expecting strong resale value in a few years are going to be devastated when they realize what discontinued means for a vehicle's worth. It means the market punishes it immediately and mercilessly, and Stellantis knew that when they made the call. Stay with me because number 2 is where things get genuinely outrageous. Number 2. This one is a story about arrogance. Pure corporate arrogance dressed up in a luxury badge and sold to buyers who deserved so much better. I'm talking about the Chevrolet Blazer EV. Now, the original Blazer nameplate revival was already controversial when it came back in 2019, but General Motors decided that was not enough. They wanted to go fully electric with the Blazer and position it as the future of the brand. Big announcement, massive marketing push, influencer events, the whole production. And then the vehicle arrived and it was an absolute disaster from day one. General Motors was forced to halt all sales of the Blazer EV in early 2024 after discovering critical software failures that left owners stranded. Not minor glitches, not minor inconveniences. We're talking about vehicles that simply stopped working, systems shutting down without warning, charging failures, screen blackouts. One of the most embarrassing product launches in modern automotive history. General Motors had to offer Blazer EV owners complimentary loaner vehicles while they figured out how to fix a car they had already sold to the public. Think about that. You spend $56,000 on a brand new SUV, and the manufacturer hands you a loaner and says, "Sorry, we need to fix the car you just bought." The confidence destruction was total. Sales never recovered. After the recall and the software crisis, buyers refused to return. Competitors like the Hyundai Ioniq 5 and the Ford Mustang Mach-E were already better established and far more reliable. The Blazer EV had nothing to offer except a famous name attached to a deeply flawed product. Reports from dealers indicate that Blazer EV units are sitting on lots with discount offers exceeding $10,000 below sticker price just to move inventory. Resale values have collapsed at a rate that industry analysts describe as historic. Owners who bought early are taking losses they never imagined, and General Motors, rather than investing in fixing and relaunching the vehicle properly, appears to be quietly retreating from the Blazer EV identity entirely. Another broken promise, another name turned into a cautionary tale. And now we get to the number one, the one that turned the loudest promises into the industry's most humiliating collapse. Number 1. We close this list with the single most talked about SUV failure of the modern era, a vehicle that had everything: a built-in customer base, enormous brand loyalty, a famous name that carried decades of emotional weight, and it still fell apart in spectacular fashion. I am talking about the Ford EcoSport and the broader symbol it represents, which is Ford's complete collapse in the entry-level SUV segment in North America. The EcoSport was supposed to be Ford's gateway into the booming small SUV market, the vehicle that would capture younger buyers, city drivers, and budget-conscious families. Ford promised this vehicle would compete globally, move serious volume, and anchor an entirely new segment strategy. What actually happened was a masterclass in how not to sell a car. The EcoSport arrived in the American market years after it had already launched in other parts of the world, meaning buyers were getting a vehicle built on old architecture from day one. The interior quality was shockingly poor for the price. The 1.0-liter EcoBoost engine felt dangerously underpowered in American driving conditions. Reviewers were brutal. Consumer Reports gave it one of its lowest reliability ratings in the small SUV category, and buyers responded by simply not showing up. At its peak, Ford was hoping to move 80,000 EcoSports a year in North America. The actual numbers never cracked 45,000, and by 2022, Ford had seen enough, officially discontinuing the model in the United States. But here is the part that makes it a true shame of the industry. Ford left thousands of EcoSport owners with a discontinued vehicle, dwindling parts availability, and collapsing resale values without any formal trade-in support or customer protection program. The people who trusted the blue oval in the small SUV segment were essentially abandoned. No transition plan, no loyalty credit, just a discontinued model and a good luck. The EcoSport story is bigger than just one bad vehicle. It exposed how major manufacturers enter segments without genuine commitment, use their brand name to generate initial sales, and then exit the moment the numbers disappoint, leaving buyers to deal with the financial consequences alone. That is not a product failure. That is a failure of integrity. And that is exactly why it earns the top spot on this list, and exactly why it deserves to be called the shame of the industry. So here is what all 5 of these SUVs teach you. The badge on the hood means nothing if the brand behind it is not willing to stand behind the product long term. Before you sign anything at any dealership, check the production status of the vehicle, check whether a redesign has been announced, check the sales trend numbers, because when volume drops and no next generation is confirmed, that vehicle is already on its way to the cemetery, and the dealership selling it to you at full price knows exactly what is coming. The SUV market in 2026 is being reshaped faster than any point in the last 30 years. Brands are making decisions based on boardroom spreadsheets, not buyer loyalty. And the people who pay the price are always the same: regular buyers who trusted a brand, signed a loan, and drove home in a vehicle that was already being quietly discontinued. Do not let that be you. If you are in the market for an SUV right now, watch the next video on this channel, where we break down the 5 SUVs that are actually getting stronger in 2026, the ones with confirmed new generations, growing sales, and genuine long-term value, because some names in this industry still mean something. Click and find out which ones.